Good morning to Doctor. I am Lee Xingyi from 2 PPSMP Science 1. Today, I'm going to present my project 2 for Computational Thinking course with its plug-in activity. The SCES-related topic in the activity is Human Digestive System. For this project, I have used the application with Scratch to design and create the game. The game aims to allow the player to learn about the process of human digestive system through the simple animation. So firstly, I plan the action and any instruction and the picture that I have needed. After I plan it out, I upload the picture in the Scratch. Later on, I choose the suitable block to design my game and also carry out my instruction. For an example, when the background is switched to the background 2, then the background will have to wait for 2 seconds. And after the 2 seconds, the picture, which is taco, will show up. When the taco show up, it had to play the sound pop until the sound is done. And after the action is completed, I will continue to make another block to carry out another instruction. So in this process, I have applied the computational thinking, which is decomposition, which is I break down an instruction into a smaller and more manageable chunk, which is the block here. Whenever I have completed the block, I will initiate the action, which is I will click the green flag here to see whether my block is effective or not. When I found that the action is not clear or there is some bug in the action, I will try to find another way or another solution to create a more effective and more accurate action by using the suitable block. In this case, I have created a question for player to answer so that they can learn more and they can do some revision about the human digestive system by answering the question. So my aim for the question session is I have to let the player to answer the question until they get the correct answer. So the problem is how to allow the player to answer the question until they get the correct answer. So the way to solve the problem is I use the block which is repeat until. So there is a similarity when I make the question, which is that I want to make the player to answer the question until they answered it correctly. So the similarity is I want the player to answer the question correctly. So the block that I have used to solve the problem is I use a block repeat until, which means that the action, which is the question, is given for the player. And when the player answers it, the block will check whether the player give the correct answer or not. If the player give the wrong answer, the action will repeat again, and which is I will give a message say, please try again until the player get it correctly. So the repeat until is the solution to solve the problem. To make the game more attractive, I had add some small animation, which is the glide block. Glide means that I will make the taco to move from a specific position to another position. And here you can see that I have used again the repeat until block because now I'm doing the question. So when I'm doing the question, then my problem is I want to let the players to answer the question until they get it correctly. So there's a similarity when I'm doing the question section. So the solution to solve the problem is I use the repeat until block. Other than animation, I've added some sound effects so that the player can get a visual effect and also the audio effect. It is to let the player to enjoy themselves in the game while learning the human digestive system. Along the process while creating the game, I found that similarity when I want to make some description in the picture, which is when the background switch to intestine, just like the sample here, I will make the block show to place it under the when background switches, and then I will place the block save, which I had to place the description inside the block here. After I place the description here, I will put another block to furthermore describe the process of human digestion. And after that, I will hide the message and switch the current background to the next background. So I repeat the action again when I'm trying to add the description in the game. And so this is a part where I make the revision section, which is in the revision section, there are several questions are given to the player for them to answer it correctly. The revision section is aimed to let the player to memorize again and revise again the process that they have watched. So in this question section, I have also used again the block which is repeat until block, so that the player will answer the question until they get it correctly. After they get it correctly, they will receive a sound effect, which means that they get the correct answer. If they get the wrong answer, they will receive another sound effect which initiate that they have answered it wrongly. So they have to answer the question again until they get it correctly so that they can go forward to another section. So this is the computer block in my Scratch game.
Hello.
And this is a demo of my game.
I am going to have my lunch now. I am being chewed into smaller parts. I am shelled down to the stomach. I am being mixed with gastric juice to become chyme.
And here, the player will have to choose the correct answer by clicking the number. So if I click the wrong number, I will receive a sound effect, which indicates me that I get the wrong answer. So the player will receive please try again message so that to write the correct answer again.
I am pancreas. I secrete digestive enzymes into the chyme. I am gallbladder. I secrete bile to emulsify the lipids into droplets. The small intestine is the site of nutrient absorption. The nutrients are absorbed into the bloodstream or lacteal. Large intestine is the site of water and minerals absorption. Lastly, the waste is expelled. Try to answer the question.
And in the revision part, when the player gets the correct answer, the revision will show the score that the player gets. Whenever they get the correct answer, they will add 1 mark in the revision score. And this is the game. This is the end of my game. So to make a conclusion, I have applied the 5 computational thinking in the Scratch game. The first one is decomposition. Decomposition means breaking down a complex problem into a smaller and more manageable chunk. And while using Scratch, firstly, the sequence of any action is broken down into a smaller pieces, which are the coding block. So for example, in the figure on the left, it shows the action which is click the button and go to the next page. So the sequence of the action is click the button and switch the current page to a next page. So there's a keyword here, switch backdrop to the next backdrop. So this is how I break down my action into a smaller sequence by building the block here. During the plug-in activity, the players learn the process of digestion by breaking down the whole process into several organs, which is the oral cavity, esophagus, stomach, duodenum, small and large intestine. The second computational thinking skill is pattern recognition or generalization. It is to identify the pattern and similarities in any problem to figure out the solution. So while using Scratch, there are several questions that is given to the player in the game. So the problem that I have faced is how to allow player to answer the question until they get it correctly. So while building the block for question answer pairs, there is a similarity, which is allow player to answer the question until they get it correctly. So after figuring out the similarities, I use the block repeat until. So the block is used to solve the problem. And so this is a picture of the sample, which is there is a similarity between the two blocks. So the similarity is repeat until. During plug-in activities, the diagram and question in the revision part are similar with the previous one because the question is repeated. So the player needs to find out the similar part and information among the diagram. So they have to figure out the correct answer to answer the question. So in this case, generalization skills help players to find solution more quickly by figuring the similarity between the diagram and the information. And so this is a sample of showing that the question is repeated. For example, here it shows that choose the correct answer by clicking the number, which is the player had to identify among the three information, they have to choose the most accurate one. While in the revision part, there's a question stated like, is the kind acidic or alkaline? So the player has to figure out that there's a similarity between the two diagrams and the information. So the answer for the question will be acidic after they find out the similarities. The third computational thinking skill is abstraction. Abstraction means identifying the crucial details that are related to solving the problem and figure out the irrelevant information. And while using Scratch, the problem that I have faced is how to create a virtual speaker to read the description. So the crucial keyword to carry out my instruction is speak or voice. So while I explore the Scratch apps, I found a block with a keyword is speak. So the keyword has become the crucial keyword to solve my problem. So the speak block is found and it is used to solve the problem, which is creating a virtual speaker to read the description. But during the plugin activities, there are several information which are irrelevant to the revision part, and the multiple choice question also contains several false information. Hence, players have applied the abstraction computational thinking skill, which is they have to filter the information to answer the question correctly. The fourth thinking skill is algorithm. Algorithm means that setting up the rules and steps needed to follow in order to achieve an outcome. While using Scratch, the steps of an action are arranged accordingly to achieve an outcome. The order is very important while building up the block because if there is any change in the order, then the instruction may not be effective or the instruction cannot be carried out. But during the plug-in activity, the players have applied the algorithm thinking skills if they have to follow the step by watching the digestion from one organ to another to get the whole view of digestion process, so that when they came to the revision part, they have a whole view of digestion process so that they can answer the question more easily. The fifth computational thinking skill is evaluation. Evaluation means making the best choice and decision to solve the problem. While I'm using the Scratch, there are various ways to carry out a specific instruction. So I have to figure out the most effective way to ensure that the instruction is accurate and clear. So I will have to choose the best block to build the specific instruction. But during the plug-in activities, there are many information given in the activity. So the player have to make evaluation by choosing and deciding the best answer before answering the question. And this is the end of my presentation about my project 2 with plug-in activity. Thank you for listening.